1st of June 2023. This is a WARRAFAK moment, and it is a WARRAFAK moment of note. There's a lot of things that is happening all around the globe, and the Ukraine war is almost like a lightning conductor, drawing our attention away of the deeper danger for us as human beings. The real fight and the real war is, and I'm going to call it, BRICS versus the G7. BRICS is all the countries that are not part of the so-called West. And the G7 is the West. I may as well call it NATO, because that's what it is. The G7 is basically NATO as well. The reality is that the BRICS bloc is growing, and the BRICS bloc has got all the potential to become an industrial and commercial giant. Something that we have not seen in our lives. And the G7 is in its dying throes. The G7 is fighting for its life. The G7 is cornered. And never forget, a cornered animal is a dangerous thing. Lethally dangerous. Don't forget that. But I'm talking about South Africa. I'm sitting here in the dark, as you can see. Load shedding is on us, but that is part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. What I'm going to share with you tonight is most probably going to upset many people, and it's going to rattle a lot of people. If you are a follower of my channel, some of the things that I'm going to mention tonight would be familiar to you. But I just could not ignore the importance of this message. So, sit back and maybe pause the video now, get yourself a cup of coffee, or get yourself a glass of wine, a glass of Clippies and Coke, whatever you need to calm your nerves and make you relax, and just listen. It is very important that you listen to the facts, listen to the things that I'm going to mention, and then think about it. Think about it before you react. Yugoslavia is something that my generation would know, and we saw the collapse of Yugoslavia and how this powerhouse in Europe got broken up and basically got neutered and turned into a pack of yapping Western controlled puppies. That is what happened. The same thing is planned for South Africa. All planned well before 1994. De Klerk and Mandela were needed to collapse the white regime so that the globalists could move in unhindered. Those militant black racists with so much hatred for whites and apartheid will wish and pray for the return of the soldiers and police of the hated white regime. The hell the West has in mind for all of us is way beyond your wildest imagination, and the plan is well on its way. South Africa is going to be Balkanized. They're going to do the same to us, what they did to Yugoslavia and created the Balkan states. Think about that. What does that look like? All industries are destroyed, privatized into Western hands and they closed them down. Yugoslavia was an industrial monster, rivaling Germany. The West could not allow that to continue. By the way, under Yeltsin, they did the same to Russia. Putin stopped them. And that's why they hate Putin. Yes, they hate Putin. Think, Iskor, mining, Middelburg steel, and as you can see, comes the lights on. Textile industries, Krijgkor, Denel, Atlas, Atlantis Diesel, Triumph, Kainoch, Kruispoort, Nigel, Pelindaba, to name a few. We were basically 100% self-sufficient, largely due to the sanctions. That is the country that the white regime handed over to the ANC. Then think about it. How fast did the ANC destroy all of the above? How fast? Now, our raw materials are exported, manufactured goods are imported. So we are dependent on imports to survive. Look around you, stupid shit that is imported, that we used to manufacture here locally. Better quality, and it provided thousands of jobs. Our military destroyed and reduced to rubble. This was important because the cabal cannot afford to have a strong, well-functioning army of patriots around when they start the takeover. That is what was done to Serbia too. Yugoslavia had a formidable army, but today Serbia has around 5,000 soldiers, poorly equipped and not well motivated. Plus there are 6,000 to 8,000 American soldiers in Kosovo. Think about that. That little breakaway province that was turned into a republic by NATO has got more soldiers than Serbia. And they are well trained and well equipped. Vučić, the president of Serbia, is a NATO puppet. The private security industry in South Africa is a bit of a dark horse, but we can already see voices calling for clamping down on them. Operations like Suidlanders under Wynand is a problem. Who engineered the recent split in Suidlanders? Who paid for it? Ask yourself that question and be honest. All I will say is that Wynand's patriotism and integrity is above suspicion. Think for yourself. How many US soldiers are at the base in Botswana? How many UK soldiers are at the base in Lesotho? Think about this. Most prominent political parties are corrupted and bribed. No true political leaders. All of them are puppets of the money bags. Look at the end of Yugoslavia. A number of independent republics with Western puppets in charge everywhere. They can never vote themselves out of it. Look at what is going on in Serbia and Kosovo. Both are NATO colonies. That's what they are. Destruction of the moral fiber of society. They come with this gender shit, and if you voice your opposition to it, and you base your opposition to it on the basis of your Christian faith, all hell breaks loose around you. And they throw you with that convenient fucking tool. Human rights. Human rights. That is what they use to make you accept things that are totally against your Christian beliefs and good moral values. Human rights. The next is the destruction of families. They make it so natural for people to divorce. They make it so convenient for people to just live together and never formally get married. And they come with a parent number 1 and parent number 2 shit, all of that, to dismantle the traditional family. Why are they doing that? Because they know strong families with good moral values cannot be influenced by them or controlled by them. Here in South Africa, we have to deal with the Sasa generation, and I have done a Skidmark on the Sasa generation. That is why there is no rules on that Sasa breeding scheme. They need the numbers. Remember, they started planning of this well before 1994. And the Sasa baby grants were one of the first things the ANC implemented almost immediately after they came into power. There was a lot of questions about that thing and a lot of opposition, but they just like that, and it was through and it's there. And what is the result? Today we've got girls of 12-year-old that has babies. Crime syndicates control massive sectors of the economy. That is what happened in the Balkans. The Albanian syndicates runs weapon smuggling, human trafficking, organ trafficking, you name it, and they're in it. Here in South Africa, that is already visible. Syndicates are controlling a lot. They're into the gold mining, they're into basically all other minerals. They do human trafficking, they control transport, and they have a big hand in Eskom. Cyril's task is to break the Republic up. That might make you frown. And the DA is in cahoots with the plan. Think about that. 9 to 14 smaller republics can all be much easier to manipulate, and if 1 or 2 are stubborn, they will be quickly subdued by peacekeepers. The whole republic is way too big to handle effectively. The smaller republics will be cash-strapped and easy pickings for the marauders to pillage the natural resources under the guise of investing. Ask yourself, why is the DA not supporting Cape Exit? Why? I'll tell you. There is still a few strategic assets that needs to be transferred to the money bags. And don't forget the recent oil and gas exploration finds on the west and south coast. All those licenses and permits needs to be sealed first. I can hear the Exeters screaming at me. But they need to listen and think. I can almost guarantee you that we will not see an Eskom total blackout. Primarily because the system was designed to self-preserve. But more important, a blackout will mean a total collapse of everything, including the government and the financial system. Cyril will not allow number 1, and the oligarchs will not tolerate number 2. Why the green madness? Well, to make sure whatever survives the Maidan is so indebted that they will have no option but to be nice to the conquerors. The lenders are not idiots. They know the Green Plan is a farce. There are already more and more reports coming out of green failures. So beware. The time is running out for this scam, and they need action before it becomes general knowledge that the Green Plan is a smokescreen. Think about that. They are on a tight time schedule. So why then load shedding? It is a tool to manipulate the masses. Cyril needs to get the electricity system into private hands, but there is too much patriotic resistance against that. For a start, the unions and the EFF. Then there is the power ships. Here is something I learned today from Des. The contracts for these are not with the Turkish company. It is with a South African company in which Car Power holds 51%. The rest are in the hands of locals. Quite a juicy joint venture, I would say. The most important asset of Eskom to get into the oligarchs' hands is the grid. Never forget that. Whoever owns the grid has control over the whole region. So we are bludgeoned with load shedding like hell. If Cyril comes tomorrow and says, I have a buyer for Eskom and load shedding will be gone. If you vote no, the ships will sail away and load shedding will jump 4 stages. How many people in South Africa will vote yes? Think about that. That is how we will overcome the patriotic resistance. The masses will support him and support the sale for the promise of no more load shedding. That's it. Who is the buyer? I'm sure the West has that sewn up already. But we have a serious conflict. BRICS. There are already rumors of negotiations with the Chinese and the Russians. The West will not take that kindly. The value of the Cape must never be underestimated. Both the West and BRICS knows that. Zuma did not get us into BRICS. Russia and China pulled us into BRICS. Why? For the Cape. The sea route is of paramount importance to BRICS because that connects South America to the east and it is the route to the Western markets. Don't be surprised to wake up one morning with the news that there are a number of Russian warships in Simonstown Harbour and 1 or 2 submarines off the Cape Coast, Cape Point or False Bay. Chinese warships on Zululand coast. Think back. The recent naval exercises. Think about that. Why was it held here? What did we really contribute to that exercises? What? That was an exploration exercise. Think about it. The recent visits of those 2 strategic bombers to Waterkloof made very little sense to me. But I think it was just a signal to the West that Russia can reach South Africa if they need to. That's what I think. There's other rumors, but that is what I think. Think about ISIS in Mozambique. ISIS is a CIA asset, and the Russians fight them in Syria already. Why is Lavrov in Maputo tonight? Why? Is he paving the way for Wagner? Think about that one. You need to take serious note The ANC and DA are working towards Balkanization. Many financial backers are backing both of them. Here is the big scam. The DA is playing the globalist for the globalist West, and the ANC is playing for BRICS. But that is a smokescreen. The ANC do it only to keep the masses calm while they meet in the dungeons with the Western money bags. Out of sight. There is a faction in the ANC that is truly pro-BRICS, but they are not in charge. Watch out for Paul Mashatile. He's a Zuma fan. That is the faction that are for BRICS. To trigger the Maidan, they need protests that will morph into violence and looting and destruction. The DA cannot provide that, but the DA will bring the Western peacekeepers. The ANC will provide the cannon fodder. The SASA generation was bred for this. They are undisciplined, without respect, and in the WEF category of useless eaters. Therefore, expendable. Ask yourself this: why is there no rules or restrictions on the SASA breeding plan? Why? Do not fool yourself. These Western globalists do not care about lives. They killed 500,000 Iraqi children, and Madeleine Albright said it was a difficult decision, but it was worth it. They killed 11 million people in Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, Syria, and Yemen. Not a word about that from them. Just the past weekend, Lindsey Graham grinned about all the Russians that are dying and sees it as the best investment the US ever made. How many did the US kill in Vietnam, Korea, Japan? So, if they stir up the SASA generation and the squatters, be sure that they will kill millions of them without blinking an eye. They know South Africa cannot cope with the numbers that is here, but they have a plan to fix it. Look at what they did in the Middle East. Imagine they wipe out 11 million people in South Africa. In the chaos, the US will try to establish a solid foothold in the Cape. But I think the Russians and the Chinese knows this and will not allow it. And this is where our real danger lies. We can become a Ukraine where BRICS is fighting NATO. Cyril is playing a very dangerous game. He is sitting on the fence, and it can turn out very bad for him very quickly. The DA is fairly safe. They are solidly in the Western camp, but Cyril is playing both sides. The West knows this and knows the dangers for Cyril. That is why they give him so much money. They need him for now because he has to deliver the Maidan and the collapse of the Republic. The biggest tragedy for South Africa is we do not have a Putin, or at least one I can see. Could it be Ian Cameron or Vusi Tembakwayo, or a coalition between the two? Think about that. You must think about that. Okay? I'm going to stop now. There's a lot of information to digest. Instead of screaming at your screen and swearing at me, just sit quietly and think. Then look around you and observe. Then think a little bit more. And then share this when reality strikes you. That is all that I'm asking. Look at all these facts. I've given you a lot of facts, and you can go and do your own research, and you will be able to get confirmation of all these facts. Look at it all, and then think about what I am telling you here tonight. We are in a real danger. But the danger is not this blackout shit they're trying to sell us. That blackout story is a manipulation tool. The same bloody story they used with the pestilence, where they told you, if you touch your grandmother, she's dead. If you touch your kid, you're dead. That type of thing. That is what they did to us. And now they're using this blackout exactly in the same way. It's the same story, just different characters. Think about these things. What I have told you here is very possible. Very possible. I've done 3 Skidmarks on Colour Revolution South Africa and the possibilities of a Maidan and how it can turn out and why it will happen and how it will happen. Think about that. The stuff that I've been discussing tonight, the correlation between what happened to Yugoslavia and what can happen here in South Africa is a scary thing. There is so much in common. Think about that. That's what you have to do. Then make your own decisions, and then you can come back and leave the comments and swear at me and call me whatever you like. I don't care. I'm just telling you what is possible. How you take that information and deal with that information. That is up to you. That's up to you. Just remember, there will be consequences. And if this possibilities that I mentioned tonight actually happens, it is going to be a fucking rough ride. That I can assure you. But I have a lot of confidence in our nation in general. And I can already see a lot of voices from the black communities coming out vocally and verbose. So maybe we can avoid it. But we can only avoid it if we get rid of this ANC and make sure the power does not land into the hands of the DA by default. Because if that happens, we are screwed. They will make these things happen at double the speed. Because the ANC has got a problem. There's 2 factions in there, and they must try and keep some form of calmness going. So they are playing it a bit slower. But the DA doesn't have brakes. You see it. Look at what they're doing with this gender shit. Pulling it now into the schools, painting the damn rainbows on the streets and cock like that. They do it. They're not scared. Now they're driving a court case to force the government to arrest Putin. They're off their fucking rockers. Medvedev said clearly, arrest Putin, and it's a de facto declaration of war against Russia. But fuck, this big and strong DA with shitshop Johnny and that crazy man down in the Cape, they think they can face Russia. They bloody drunk on something. I don't know what they're using and what they're drinking, but they have got a lot of bravado. I don't know what the hell is going on in their minds. Imagine that. They want to do something that will be a de facto war, declaration of war against Russia. Those people, they are actually more dangerous than the EFF to all of us. But let me get off this. I've said what I wanted to say. You digest it and take from it what you can and want. Thank you very much for your support. Please give the video a like and share the thing if you think there is value in it. Have a great evening.